friends. It is Monday. I am AnnaLee Dragon, the director of the Kinderhook Memorial Library, and it's time for another book talk. We are in our August unboxing this week, which is super exciting. I try to do this once a month when I get my new books in, our new books. I like to think of them as mine, but they're not. They belong to the library and to the community. So when we get all of the new books in, I like to go through them with you and just give you some idea of what's new on the shelf in case you haven't been looking at the New York Times bestseller list, or you're not sure what you're looking for. Maybe these give you some new ideas. So I have a bunch of books. I'm not going to spend too much time on each one because I've got about 11, I think, to get through. And they're split about half fiction, half nonfiction. So I've got something for everybody. So I'm not going to do the thing where I show you the book and then talk about it because it will just take too long. So what I'm going to do is go through the books quickly and cover each one a little bit. And then at the end, I will put up a slideshow of all of the covers of the books so that you can check them out, put them on hold, do whatever it is you want to do if you miss the titles when I'm discussing them. Okay, so here we go. The first book I wanted to talk about, we're going to start with fiction. And the first book I wanted to talk about is called The Last Summer at the Golden Hotel. This is the cover. Sorry for the glare. It's by Alyssa Friedland. She wrote this book called The Floating Feldmans that got really great reviews, but this is supposed to be laugh out loud funny. It is about the antics of two delightfully dysfunctional families as they fight, share secrets, and fall in love in the once prosperous Catskills Hotel that they own. So I don't know if any of you have been to these Catskill hotels, but I have, and there is such a sense of nostalgia. It's a little Dirty Dancing like. There's lots of group activities. Everybody eats dinner together at a banquet every night. You have the same table, same waiter. There's just a certain feeling that comes with it. So I think this book captures that supposedly very well. And it's the place obviously is called the Golden Hotel. And it's about a family reunion, and it says it brings hilarity and nostalgia when two clans convene for the summer at their beloved getaway. So if you're looking for something a little comic, which is where I'm at right now, Last Summer at the Golden Hotel. Okay, next we have one called In the Country of Others by Leila Slimani, who is the author of another book called The Perfect Nanny. This is the cover of this one. This one has a lot of holds on it. People are excited. It's an award-winning, internationally best-selling novel about a woman in an interracial marriage whose fierce desire for autonomy parallels her adopted country's fight for independence. So this is her first novel since that one, The Perfect Nanny, that I mentioned, and it launched her onto the world stage. But this draws on her own family's inspiring story for the first volume in a planned trilogy about race, resilience, and women's empowerment. So this is obviously a little more serious than the one we just discussed, but it's getting really great reviews. Everybody says it's fantastic, and it's got reviews from like Salman Rushdie. So really big author names are reading this and liking it. And like I said, a lot of people have this one on hold, but if you don't, maybe you want to add it. And now that we have a copy, you're only waiting behind our patrons for it. So even if the line looks long, it's not that long. Okay, next book. We're going flip-flopping a little back to light and airy. This one is called If the Shoe Fits. It is by Julie Murphy, who wrote Dumplin', which was a young adult novel that I think I've discussed in one of my book talks. And it was made into a movie on Netflix, which was great also. So this one is an adult novel, and it's a remaking of Cinderella, sort of. So they say it encompasses everything we love about rom-coms: laughing, swooning, smiling. So I loved Dumplin', and it was a great light read, but also had some weight to it. Like, it's not just fluff, but it's really enjoyable, really fun. This looks like a great beach read. So it says that Cindy loves shoes, and a well-placed bow or a chic stacked heel is her form of self-expression. As a fashion-obsessed plus-size woman, she can never find designer clothes that work for her body, but a special pair of shoes always fits just right. And so it's a story about Cindy, and like I said, it kind of takes on Cinderella, the Cinderella story. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I have it on my holds list for sure. Okay, next up, again, switching tone, a little darker this time. For our murder mystery fans, we've got The Night Singer by Johanna Moe. So this is a family tragedy, and a teenage boy's death put Detective Hannah Dunker on a collision course with her past. So if you're into police procedurals and murder mysteries, this is right up your alley. It says that police detective Hannah Dunker didn't expect to return to her native Åland, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, where secrets linger and collective memory is long and unforgiving. She fled after her father's murder conviction and returned to make peace with her shame. And now she has a job with the local police and a nosy new partner. So to me, this screamed, if you liked Broadchurch, on the BBC show, I think this sounds similar to me in tone and nature, and it looks fantastic. And again, I have this one on my list, so I don't know about you, but if you don't yet, The Night Singer by Johanna Moe. Okay, I've got two more fiction here. So we've got The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, who is the New York Times bestselling author of the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. It's a little fantasy there, which we love. This says it sizzles with action, originality, and a gleaming concept sharp as a scalpel. And that's written by Charlaine Harris, who wrote all of the vampire novels about the South that were so popular recently and turned into a HBO show also. So this is a fast-paced, thrilling horror novel that follows a group of heroines to die for, from the brilliant New York Times bestselling author of the Southern Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires. So in horror movies, the final girl is the one who's left standing when the credits roll, the one who fought back, defeated the killer, and avenged her friends, the one who emerges bloody but victorious. But after the sirens fade and the audience moves on, what happens to her? So I am looking forward to this one. I loved Charlaine Harris's books, and this seems in the same vein. Little fantasy, little darkness, but some humor too. So I'm all about the Final Girls Support Group. Okay, one last fiction before we move on to nonfiction. It's called Then She Vanishes by Claire Douglas. I actually bought this one in both regular print and large print because it looked like the kind of book that people were going to be looking for. It's gotten some fantastic reviews, and it says it takes place on a summer night in 1994. 16-year-old Flora Powell vanished from her sleepy seaside town without a trace. Their heart shatters. Flora's mother, her sister Heather, and Heather's best friend Jess somehow had to carry on without knowing what happened. 25 years later, tragedy strikes again when Heather walks into a stranger's house and allegedly kills two people in cold blood. So this book to me had ringings of Gone Girl, and I know there was a huge following of that for a long time. Many people have looked for read-alikes. If you liked Gone Girl, I haven't read this one yet, so I can't say, but if you liked Gone Girl, I have a feeling that Then She Vanishes might be right up your alley, and it's a great beach read for the end of summer here, okay? All right, nonfiction. So I've got some humor and some more serious stuff. The first one is humor. It's called Subpar Parks by Amber Scher. It's America's most extraordinary national parks and their least impressed visitors. So this is hilarious. They have a park where so each one has a double page like this. And this page here is the review that is not so fantastic. So somebody actually wrote this review on Yelp of the park. It's called Gates of the Arctic National Park, and this one says the mountains are not nearly tall enough. I don't know who we're complaining to about that, but I do enjoy that we had that complaint. So then they have these funny illustrations of the complaint, and then they give some information about the park and the great things about it and why people go to visit it. But it's just some light humor, something I thought was hilarious and much needed at this time, and I just love, you would never believe the things people will complain about. So if you are looking for a laugh and you've been to some of our national parks and love them, you might enjoy Subpar Parks. Okay, biographies. I know we have a lot of biography fans. This one is called Blind Man's Bluff, a memoir by James Tate Hill. And it's gotten, again, fantastic reviews. All of these do. That's why I picked them. But they also, I know biography people in our audience, there's a lot of you who love biographies, and this one was really interesting. At age 16, James Tate Hill was diagnosed with Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, a condition that left him legally blind. When high school friends stopped calling and a disability counselor advised him to aim for C's in his classes, he tried to escape the stigma by pretending that he could still see. So that's where the title Blind Man's Bluff comes. He's bluffing about being able to see. And it says that it's unfailingly candid yet humorous, and he discloses the tricks he employed to pass for a sighted person, from displaying shelves of paperbacks he read on tape to arriving early on first dates so women would have to find him. So I thought it was part memoir and just a really interesting story. I am looking forward to reading it myself. So if anybody is looking for a new memoir, Blind Man's Bluff. Okay, this next book is nonfiction, but just, I think, an interesting, something that, about a place, I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied here, about a place that has an interesting situation. It's called The Quiet Zone, and it's by Stephen Kurczy. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce, Kurczy. And it says, what if there was a place where people weren't constantly scrolling, where forest hikes were never tainted by a ringtone, and where getting lost meant really getting lost? These questions led me through the rugged Appalachian backcountry and into the heart of the quiet zone, unraveling the mystery of a town suspended in silence. Honestly reminds me some of where I grew up, which only just got internet like last year. This is a stunning portrait of an Appalachian community, the people who call it home, and the enduring human quest for quiet. So this is about deep in the Appalachian Mountains lies the last truly quiet town in America. Green Bank, West Virginia is both futuristic and old-fashioned. It's home to the Green Bank Observatory, where astronomers search the depths of the universe, but school children go without Wi-Fi or iPads. So I think this is a really interesting look, too, at this digital divide that we talk about. The fact that we want to think that everybody has internet, but they don't. And there are places where the companies won't even put it in. And some places the people don't want it. So I thought this looked like a really interesting little piece of Americana about a place that's not that far from here, really, and what that's like. What are the challenges it presents? What are the positives of it? And maybe what are the negatives as well? The quiet zone. Okay, the next one, I'm super intrigued. It's a memoir of exploring light and life in the deep sea, below the edge of darkness. Check out those tentacles. It's by Edith Witter, and she's a pioneering marine biologist who takes us down into the deep ocean to understand bioluminescence, the language of light that helps life communicate in the darkness, and what it tells us about the future life on Earth. I find this fascinating because there are so many animals that exist in the dark part of the ocean that we don't go to, that we only know about because of they like surface, like the giant squids that surface when they die. And we would never know they exist because nobody's ever seen live ones. So what else is down there that doesn't surface when it dies? And the ocean is such an unexplored part of our globe, right? Like we've explored space more, I would argue, than the ocean in a lot of ways. So Below the Edge of Darkness is a memoir, but also talks about that unexplored area of our world. And I am really looking forward to reading this one. Okay, one last book. It's called The Atlas of Disappearing Places by Christina Conklin and Marina Saros, Our Coasts and Our Oceans in the Climate Crisis. And it looks beautiful, but I thought it was important to talk about given the dire predictions we've just seen from scientific reports about the severity of global warming or I guess climate change, not so much global warming, climate change. And the place we're at, and if there is anything we can do to reverse things at this point. And so this book says that our planet is in peril, seas are rising, oceans are acidifying, ice is melting, coasts are flooding, species are dying, and communities are faltering. So it's a feel-good book. But it's something that we all need to hear and we need to think about. So despite these dire circumstances, most of us don't have a clear sense of how the interconnected crises in our ocean are affecting the climate system, food webs, coastal cities, and biodiversity, and which solutions can help us co-create a better future. So I like that while it's giving us some hard information that's difficult to hear, it also is looking to what we can do. What power do we have? What control do we have in this situation at this point? And it talks about different places that are suffering due to climate crisis and what we might be able to do to fix them. So if you're interested in this, and I know we have a climate smart community in our village, so maybe this is a great book for them to be reading and discussing and even having a book group about. The Atlas of Disappearing Places. Okay, that's it for this week, everybody. Hope you're excited about these new books. I have a bunch more. This isn't all of them. So if you haven't been in lately, stop in, check out our new bookshelf, ask me, and I'll be happy to give you some suggestions. And we look forward to seeing you next week and very soon in the library. Bye, everyone.